If you're a family in Dubai thinking about moving to Canada, the question I hear more than any other, more than mortgages, more than neighborhoods, is this: what happens to my children's education? And I understand why. You have built a life around a school that works. Your child knows their teachers, their friends, their system. The idea of moving them into something completely unfamiliar is one of the most emotionally charged part of this whole decision. So today I want to answer that question honestly and in detail. I'm going to walk you through exactly how the two systems compare: Dubai International Schools versus Ontario Public Schools, what your child's transition actually looks like at different ages, which schools in Mississauga and Oakville are worth knowing about, and the financial reality that most families don't fully account for until they have already landed. I'm Jyoti Shamnani, realtor with Engel & Walkers. I have lived in South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa before making Canada my home. I have helped dozens of families make this exact move, and I want to give you the honest picture, not the version designed to make the decision feel easy. I have put together a free Dubai to Canada school zone guide. It maps the top rated schools across Mississauga and Oakville with their catchment areas and Fraser Institute scores. Link is in the description. So let's talk about what you are coming from and why it matters. Before we can talk about the transition, we need to be honest about what your children are currently in, because Dubai's international school landscape is one of the most varied, complex systems in the world. Dubai has over 215 private schools operating across 17 different curricula. The most common ones families from South Asia and the Middle East attend are British, following the IGCSE and A-level pathway, or the International Baccalaureate. Some families are in American curriculum schools with the AP program, and a significant number of South Asian families are in Indian CBSE curriculum schools. For the 2025-2026 academic year, fees at Dubai International Schools range from approximately 35,000 dirhams to 75,000 dirhams per year at the primary level, 45,000 to 90,000 for secondary through IGCSE, and 55,000 to 105,000 dirhams for the IB diploma or A levels in years 12 and 13. Let me put that in Canadian dollars at today's exchange rate. 100,000 dirhams is approximately 37,000 Canadian dollars. So a family with two children in a mid-tier Dubai International School, one in primary and one in secondary, is commonly spending roughly $45,000 to $65,000 per year on school fees alone. At a premium school, that number can exceed 80,000 Canadian dollars annually for two children. Beyond tuition, families should budget separately for school transport, approximately 6,000 dirhams to 12,000 dirhams annually, depending on distance, and board exam fees for IGCSE, IB, or A level, which are not included in tuition and can add up to 5,000 to 15,000 dirhams per exam session. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad about what you are spending. I'm telling you this because it's one of the most significant financial facts of the Canada move, and most families undercount it when they are planning their budget. Now let's talk about what you are moving into and why it's better than you might think. Here is the single most important thing I want you to take from this video. Ontario public school education is free for permanent residents and citizens from kindergarten through grade 12, completely free. Public schools in Canada receive funding from provincial governments. Ontario contributed as part of the $72.5 billion in national public education funding in 2022-23. This funding covers teacher salaries, facilities, and resources for all students enrolled. Think about what that means for your family. If you have been spending 50,000 Canadian dollars or more per year on school fees in Dubai, moving to Ontario and enrolling in a top-rated public school is not a downgrade. For most families, it is a financial transformation, and one that directly improves your ability to carry a mortgage, build savings, and establish yourself in Canada. Now, let me be clear about what an Ontario public schools are and are not. So let's talk about what they are. The Ontario curriculum is set by the Ministry of Education and is consistent across all public schools in the province. It runs from grade 1 through grade 12 and leads to the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the OSSD. The OSSD is the standard credential for university admission across Canada and is recognized internationally. The curriculum is academically rigorous at the secondary level, particularly in the academic stream, which is the university-bound track. Grade 11 and 12 courses in math, science, and English are substantial preparation for Canadian university admission. Ontario also has EQAO standardized testing, the Education Quality and Accountability Office, which tests students in grade 3, 6, and 9 mathematics, as well as a literacy test in grade 10. These results are what the Fraser Institute uses to rank every school in Ontario out of 10. That ranking data is publicly available, which means as a parent, you can objectively compare schools before you choose your neighborhood. Now let's talk about what they are not. Ontario public schools are not the IB. They are not A levels. The pace and structure at the elementary level in particular feels more relaxed than what many families experience in Dubai's competitive international schools. There is more emphasis on well-being, creative learning, and critical thinking at the earlier grades. Some parents initially interpret this as less rigorous. In most cases, it is simply different. Now, let's talk about, will my child's Dubai qualifications transfer? Will Canadian credentials open the right doors? This is where I want to give you very specific answers because the anxiety around this is real and often based on incomplete information. If your child is completing the IB diploma, in that case, Canadian universities highly value the IB diploma. Many offer direct entry to full IB diploma candidates based on predicted grades. Universities like McGill, the University of Toronto, and UBC are consistently among the most popular choices for IB students. McGill grants up to 30 transfer credits a full year for students completing the full IB diploma with higher level results of 5 or better. So if your child is in year 12 or 13 of the IB program in Dubai and you are moving to Canada, the credential they are working toward is not just recognized, it is actively valued by Canada's top universities. You do not need to restart. You do not need to switch systems mid-diploma. Now let's see if your child is on the IGCSE or A-level pathway. The University of Toronto requires English, IGCSE or GCSE at the ordinary or A-level for all programs. Mathematics and other prerequisites should be presented at AS or A-level. Transfer credit may be awarded for A-level subjects. A-levels completed in Dubai are recognized at Canadian universities, but the pathway is most straightforward when your child is completing them, not midstream. If you are moving while your child is in the middle of IGCSEs at year 10 or 11, the transition requires a conversation with the receiving school about credit recognition. Now let's see if your child is in Indian CBSE curriculum. The CBSE credential is recognized in Canada and most Ontario public schools will place children based on age and an academic assessment rather than requiring them to repeat years. The language of instruction adjustment is typically the main transition challenge, and Ontario schools have ESL support programs built in for exact this reason. If your child is transforming or transitioning into the Ontario system at elementary level, for children under 12, the transition is almost always smooth. Children adapt quickly, language acquisition is rapid at these young ages, and the Ontario elementary curriculum is welcoming to students from diverse educational backgrounds. Now let's talk about how to choose where to live based on your child's age and needs. This is where the real estate and school decision intersect. And it is why I work with both pieces together for every family I help relocate. Here is how I think about it by age group. Let's talk about the elementary families, children ages 4 to 11. At this age, your priority is high-performing school with a warm, inclusive culture. The Fraser Institute's 2025 elementary school rankings for the Mississauga and Oakville area identified several schools with perfect or near perfect 10 out of 10 ratings. Kenoli Public School in Mississauga and Safa and Marwa Islamic School in Mississauga both received 10 out of 10 ratings in the Fraser Institute's 2025 elementary rankings. For Muslim families in particular, Safa and Marwa Islamic School is worth knowing. It combines strong academic performance with the Islamic values framework, a combination that matters deeply to many families making this transition from Dubai. In Oakville, Forest Trail Public School consistently ranks among the top elementary schools in the city. Let's see secondary families. Children with ages 12 to 17. At this age, the school's academic track matters more, and so does your child's specific pathway. The Fraser Institute's 2025 secondary school rankings placed these Oakville schools in Ontario's top tier. Abbey Park High School with 9.3 out of 10, one of the fastest improving schools in the province, serving the Glenaby neighbourhood. Iroquois Ridge High School, 9.3 out of 10, anchoring Northeast Oakville's family home market. Olive Grove High School in Mississauga, 9.4 out of 10, the highest rated secondary school in Mississauga. Now, both Abbey Park and Iroquois Ridge serve families who want a rigorous academic environment with strong university placement outcomes. These are the schools where your child's Dubai academic foundation will be well matched. Let's talk about the IB question in Ontario. If your child is specifically coming from an IB program and you want to continue that pathway in Canada, there are IB World schools in the GTA. Several Oakville and Mississauga schools offer IB streams within the public system. This is something I walk through on a case-by-case basis with families because the school boundaries for IB program access can differ from the regular catchment area. Let's talk about the school fee calculation that changes your mortgage math. I want to come back to the financial picture because this is one of the most underappreciated parts of relocating from Dubai to Canada, and it directly affects the home you can afford. Let's say your family currently has 2 children in a mid-tier Dubai international school. At schools like GEMS Wellington International School or Repton Dubai Primary, fees are approximately 55,000 dirhams to 75,000 dirhams per year, and secondary school fee 75,000 dirhams to 95,000 dirhams. For 2 children, one in primary, one in secondary, your annual school cost is roughly $130,000 to $170,000 dirhams. In Canadian dollars, it's approximately $48,000 to $63,000 per year. When you move to Ontario and enroll in top-rated public schools at no cost, that is Canadian dollars $48,000 to $68,000. That leaves no threshold every year. Now think about what that means for your mortgage. At today's rates, $4,000 per month mortgage payment, which covers a substantial family home in Mississauga, costs $48,000 per year. In other words, for many families, the school fee savings alone effectively covers an entire mortgage payment. This is not a small footnote in the relocation calculation. For families I work with from Dubai, this is often the moment the numbers click. The income they can afford in Canada and the quality of neighborhood and school catchment they can access is dramatically better than they initially assumed. Once the education cost equation is properly accounted for. If you want to map your specific school needs to the right neighborhood and home budget in Mississauga or Oakville, that is exactly what I do in a free relocation strategy call. No pressure. I have done this for many families from the UAE and I would love to help yours. Book using the link in the description. Now let me bring all this together. Moving your children's education from Dubai to Ontario is not a step down. For most families, it is a step into a well-funded, highly ranked system that is absolutely capable of preparing your child for Canada's top universities at no annual cost to you. The transition is smoother than most parents fear. Children are resilient. The Ontario system has ESL support for language transitions. The academic pathways are solid and the credentials, whether OSSD, IB or A-level, are recognized across Canada and internationally. What makes the difference is where you buy. The neighborhood you choose determines the school catchment. The school catchment shapes your child's entire educational journey in Canada. And that decision is made at the same moment you make your real estate decision. Which is why having someone who understands both sides of this is not a luxury, it is essential. I have made this move myself. I understand the anxiety of bringing your family into an unfamiliar system in an unfamiliar country. And I can tell you from experience and from the many families I have helped settle in this region that the worry fades quickly once the children are settled. The neighborhood feels familiar and the school is genuinely good. Download the free Dubai to Canada School Zone Guide in the description. It covers the top-rated schools across Mississauga and Oakville with Fraser Institute scores and neighborhood maps. And if you want to talk through your family's specific situation, your children's ages, their curriculum, your budget, book a free relocation strategy call with me. The link is right below. I will see you in the next one.